Welcome back to the channel, my fellow cheese followers. Got a good one for y'all today. It is called The Decline of NBA Viewership. Now, I'm an old school NBA lover. I'm talking 80s, 90s, um, Jordan, Pippen, Ewing, Barkley, Malone. That's where I'm coming from, just so you guys know. And what I have noticed over time is the viewership has slowly gone down, but recently it's taken a nosedive, and there are three reasons that I think that this has happened. I'm going to discuss them all today. One of them is going to be fairly controversial, so if you get butthurt easily, then you might want to tune out. But don't worry, it's nothing too crazy. Um, we're gonna start with the obvious reason. Number one is starting last year, the coof hit COVID, and that has really had an impact on viewership for a bunch of obvious reasons. No fans in the stands equal no fans on TV either. We're just not watching empty stadiums. It's not as entertaining. They've tried putting, what I call SIS in place. Screens in seats. Not the same thing. Not the same energy, not the same vibe of having actual people there cheering, screaming, booing, waving, whatever it is, to get the players involved in the game and to get those watching at home who can't afford the $200, $300, $400 seats for the nosebleed section, if you can even get in. I'm looking at you, Lakers. It's not the same energy, man. When you watch a game now on TV and you hear this pumped in audio, you've got the players on the field, you've got a couple people on the sidelines wearing masks, 6 feet apart. You just seem so distant. It's like you're watching a scrimmage or a 5-on-5 at Rutgers Park or your local gymnasium. Not 20, 30, 40 million dollar athletes at the top of their game playing. You're just watching a pickup game. And people just don't want to see it. No fault of the league there. They have to follow protocol from the state, whatever it is. But that has just taken away from the energy that the NBA would bring. Okay? Now, that being said, directly around the same time that COVID hit, you had, this is the part that's going to ruffle some people's feathers, the political aspect of the NBA. There's always been politics in sports. I get that. You can go back to the Olympics when, they were raising the fists on the gold medal when I forget what the ceremony was. I think it was when they won the medals, but the three guys that came up with the fist held high. So political statements have been around in sports. We get it, but not to the extent that it is right now. Okay. You had the George Floyd incident and a couple of other ones, Breonna Taylor. And these were incidents that, while unfortunate, they were not related to sports, and people were hoping that we could have kept that separate because we saw what happened as a result of those. Whether you think these people were right, wrong, it doesn't matter. Black, white, forget all that. The incidents were not sports related, and the sports people were hoping that we could keep that separate. We could have just sports, and then you could have your protests, whatever the case may be, on this side of the spectrum. But when you started crossing them up, people did not like that, and I understand that. These athletes are gonna do what they want to do. They're getting paid money. They don't really care what we think because they're rich. That's the way the rich operate. We're going to do what we want to do. Whether you want to watch us or not, we don't care. We're getting $35, $40 million a year. Okay, fine. So they didn't care. The public didn't care. We stopped watching. People turn on the TV to see, hey, I'm just going to use this as an example, Jordan on the back of the jersey, or their favorite player, Westbrook, and the kids were seeing, equality or Taylor or whatever, and they didn't know what was going on. People have to explain, hey, that they're just making a stand against, violence against black men by the police. And people were saying, well, wait a minute, these are sports players. Shouldn't they be doing sports? Shouldn't they be proud to wear their jersey and focus on that? That didn't go over well with a lot of folk, okay? Me, I was like, all right, whatever, I get it. I wasn't going to raise a stink about it. I didn't like it. I wish they had kept it separate. But they did what they did, and they paid the price. People backed off for that. I mean, if you want to just look at the numbers here, let's just look at the playoffs, okay? I'm going to look at some statistics here. From 2011, average viewership, 17 million. 2012, 16 million. 2013, 17.5 million people watching per game in the playoffs. 2020 hits 7.5 million. Less than half as many people watched the playoffs last year as a result of COVID and the political awareness aspect of it. Okay, those two took off more than half the viewership. Okay, what's going to happen this year? I don't know. It's a shortened schedule. The playoffs start, I think, the third week in May. The playoffs are going to start up. At the moment, there's no major issues going on as far as, white men shooting black people or whatever. Well, except for that one in Tennessee. But that woman, come on now. If you saw that video, let me not even go on that situation. But anyway, let's see what happens this year if they've calmed this down, okay? The product as a result, I think, has just gotten diluted as people have seen that these athletes are more concerned about their brand image and they, following what's popular in the media and the news, as opposed to putting a good product on television for the fan to watch. Even the rich fans who can afford to go to the stadium aren't getting what they want. They can't go. One, stadiums aren't open to the public unless you're friends or family, and two, like I said, they may not be for the political aspect of it, so they don't want to go and see other people's names on the jersey, or people kneeling during the anthem. Some folk, listen, this is America, Jack, and you're gonna have people over here that it's America or bust. They're not necessarily racist. They're just, this is their country and they will stand for it. And you have white people like this, you have Asian Americans, you have black Americans that are just Americans. So the flag comes first for them, especially military people. And of course we know there's all branch people in the military. They don't want to hear it. I get it, okay? Now that's the second reason. So you've had the COVID situation first, political awareness second, and before I get off of that, but this is actually gonna go into it. The third one obviously is like part B of the political awareness, is the greed that these guys have, to me, is just unbelievable. Everybody's now just concerned about their own pocket, okay? And LeBron James made this comparison. I just have to bring this up because this is another reason here why people have kind of tuned out the NBA, because this dude made a comparison. He was talking about the NFL. The NFL owners, he compared them to being slave owners because of the treatment of contracts and players in the NFL versus the NBA. And this just sent people into a frenzy. Slave owners? LeBron James, and I love LeBron, I'm a big LeBron fan, but when it comes to politics, this is not his thing. He doesn't even realize it's not his thing, but it's not. You can't compare NFL owners. Okay, they may be all white, but you can't compare these people to. Do you even know what a slave owner did back in the day? Do you understand, LeBron, what being a slave owner was and being a slave? These NFL athletes are getting paid more money in a year than 90% of the population on this planet will make in a lifetime. They're making it in a year. These slaves, okay? You sign a contract for a team, $20 million signing bonus if you're a first round draft pick or whatever the case may be, the big names. You don't like the situation that's going on there. They're not treating you well. You're not getting enough reps, whatever the case may be. Nobody is going to shoot you or chop off your leg for fleeing the plantation, for fleeing the stadium. Okay? You got your signing bonus. Things didn't work out over there. They're talking about trading you or whatever the case may be. You do know that you can simply pack up your locker room, go out to your Lamborghini or your Bentley, drive home and never come back. You won't get paid anymore. But guess what? Nobody is going to shoot you, maim you, cut your boys off. None of that. This is what happened to slaves back then when they were caught fleeing the plantation. Okay? When they got caught, wasn't good. So for you to make a comparison like that, what did you think was going to happen? And you being a main face in the NBA, a guy who is respected by most, people look up to you, you can't say stuff like this, man. Okay, that is a very controversial and touchy subject, especially for all the people that may have still been here from the slave days, back in the 20s and 30s, whatever the case may be, that's still alive today. They'd be really old, but hey, never know. And he's still playing. So left versus right here. Obviously, LeBron is more left leaning. Okay, so that's his mentality. You had someone else in the news recently, Gina Carano, right leaning, said something kind of controversial about Jewish people and them selling other citizens out so the Germans could find out who they were. Got her canceled, lost her job. Whether you agree with her, disagree, whatever. She said something crazy. I get where she was going. Not the best choice of words. Would I want the woman fired? Of course not. Okay, but that's what they did. Out of bounds, fired her. LeBron James, he's not fired. Okay, so add that to the list of things now. People are saying, hey, privilege. And in this case, LeBron privilege for the NBA, more people are going to look at that and probably pull back because he's such an influential figure. But just a quick side note there, something to think about. Now, let me get to my biggest problem with the NBA. Okay? Plain and simple. Poor play. Gameplay. These guys are the most talented that we've ever seen. Between LeBron, Westbrook, Joel Embiid when he's not injured, Greek Freak, Steph Curry. I mean, just run down the list right now of just stellar play. Let us splash brother when he comes back. Okay, Klay Thompson, Kevin Durant, James Harden, you know who I'm talking about. These guys are playing at a level that we've never seen before. But the play on the court is not interesting to watch. And it's mainly because everybody thinks they're Steph Curry. You don't know who Steph Curry is, look him up. Probably the greatest shooter we've ever seen. And we've had some great shooters over the years, okay? I'm going back to the days of his daddy, Dale Curry, Reggie Miller, Chuck Taylor, Larry Bird. Listen, Steve Kerr, Craig Hodges. We've had some great sharpshooters. Nobody shoots the ball like Steph Curry. This brother is shooting from the parking lot and making threes. I'm not even exaggerating. It doesn't matter where he's on the court. If he's on the basketball court, he's a danger to hit a three-point shot. Literally. But everybody in the league thinks that they're him. You can't listen to me, NBA players who will never see this video. You're not all 3-point shooters. Stay in your damn lane. You're making the game unwatchable. You cannot tell me there's NBA games where there's over 40, 50 3-point attempts made. Do you know how long it would take a team, back in the 90s, when I went to high school? That just shows my age. Back then, 50 3-pointers, that was a week's worth of work for most teams back then. Maybe more. The Knicks probably took, well, before John Stark showed up, the Knicks probably took 2 weeks to jack up 50 3-pointers. That wasn't the game, man. Everybody stayed in their lane. You had sharpshooters, you had power forwards, the Davis brothers from Indiana, you had centers, Shaq, Ewing, Robinson, Olajuwon, that played their role. That's what basketball is. There's a reason you have 5 positions, okay? 2 point guards, 2 forwards, and a center. There's a reason the game was designed like that. But today's game, there seems to be one position, point guard. Whether you're 6'1" or 7'6", everybody wants to be a shooter, and most of y'all suck at it. And it shows. It shows in the quality of the game. Why is Joel Embiid shooting threes? Why is Greek Freak shooting threes? Okay, let's look at the top 5 centers in the league. Okay, Bam Adebayo, he's not even really a center. Okay, well, he maybe not. These are not current top 5. These are just recognizable names. Okay, you've got him. You got Rudy Gobert for Utah. Karl Anthony Towns, Joel Embiid, and Jokic for Denver. Okay, 3 of those guys, probably all those guys. Probably I know Embiid, I know Greek Freak, I know a bunch of these other guys are all shooting threes. You would never see this nonsense back in the day. You think Shaq shot a 3-pointer in the All-Star game, which is all today's game is. It's just a 3-point shooting contest. That's all they do. Dribble, 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 dribble. Wing, wing, who's open, who's not open. I'll pass it to you, pass it back to me, top of the key, and I shoot a 3. Or just stand over there and wait. Somebody will eventually dribble, fade off because Harden's coming down the court dribbling 6,000 times, and they got to put somebody on him. They'll pull someone from the wing, Harden throws over there, 3-pointer. That guy shooting the 3-pointer is 6'10", and he's probably shooting 18% for the season, but he's lined up over there in the corner. Someone explain that to me. The middle of the court is wide open. The paint, I mean. There's nobody down there. The centers don't hang out in the paint. If you have a mid-range shot, if you are a quick dude, someone needs to come in the league and just take advantage of this. Harden, as much as I don't like him as a player, because I just think he dribbles too much and he's a ball hog, he at least has been exploiting that, especially recently from what I hear, because I don't really watch that much anymore. A couple of highlights here and there, and maybe put the game on in the background, but he at least gets to the rim, and he realizes that there's no rim protection in the NBA anymore. The fear of the big man is gone because they're hanging out shooting threes. This has to change. Something has to be done. I don't know what they're going to do. Either move the 3-point line back. It's not going to affect Steph Curry. You can put the 3-point line back to half court, and that won't affect him. But maybe some of these other wannabe Curry guys would calm the hell down and start actually shooting from a high percentage spot. I don't know. Go out on a limb. 7, 8, 10 feet from the rim. You'll be surprised how your shooting percentage goes up when you're not jacking from the rafters. Okay? So this is where how the NBA needs to fix this. Once COVID is passed, hopefully they can get the fans back in the seat, and you're going to get the fans back in the seats if you go back to just playing sports, leave politics to the politicians and those folk over there, because politics is a dirty business. All it leads to is arguments, fight, people hating each other, conservative versus liberal, left versus right. There's no happy medium with politics. Stay out of that. Sports is where we can come back together. Sports was the one place where it didn't matter what color, race, creed, political, religious, didn't matter, man. It was team A versus team B. Okay? Let us get back to this. Put these guys in contracts where they just can't bounce out when they don't like the terms or the team's losing. You sign a 3-year contract, do your 3 years. Okay? Make it work. And teams, same thing to you. Owners, honor a guy's contract if he's playing well. Start trying to build teams again like we had back then. Sure, it's old school, but you can remember teams from the 80s and 90s. Bird, Parrish, McHale, you know, Jordan, Pippen, Grant, Magic, Kareem, James Worthy. You know, they built something. People went to the team because they know their guys were going to be there year after year fighting for something. Now, we don't know where anyone's going to end up. 1 year, he's in Houston. Next year, he's in this place. Now he's playing for the Nets. You know, Kyrie wins a champion in Chicago. He goes to Boston. He's bitching over there. Now he's with the Nets. KD just goes wherever the people are already winning and then wins even more. More power to him. I don't know. I mean, he's a great player, but bro, come on now. Okay, you go in where the winning's already happening or pretty much laid out to happen. We'll see what happens this year because you're hurt. Good luck. Okay. LeBron at least goes where people are not winning. That's why I kind of like him. At least where he goes, they start winning. KD goes where they're already winning. Okay, so... But I digress. Let me just wrap up and say, fix the game with a couple of little things, man. Try to find a way to get these guys to stop shooting threes. You know, block off the edges maybe and just have people shoot from the top. Because they love these corner threes. Leave the politics out of it. Just focus on you entertaining people at sports, what you're good at. Because you're not good at politics. You're not. Okay, and get back to playing some defense. Go back to people sticking to their positions. Centers being centers. Let the little guys shoot the threes. Let the big guys do the rebounding. Ground and pound down there. Yes, times have evolved and people are going to change. But times have evolved and people change and no one's watching. Not even the new generation is watching the NBA. There are the numbers. You can go look it up. Okay, so let's fix this, get back to the sport I love, and let's hope that 2022 will be the NBA starting to return to glory. At least I hope so. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video. Give it a thumbs up if you did, and I'll see you on the next one.